I'd give anything to time travel back to my teenage self. I'd grab myself by the shoulders and yell, no matter what, listen to Miss Robinson. Who is Miss Robinson? She was my English teacher in high school. She told me, you could be a great artist if you didn't walk like a crab. You know how crabs walk one way while looking in another direction? I've come to realize she meant walk fearlessly towards what you believe. I know I'm not alone when I say that, even though many of us know what we believe, we often walk like crabs, our bodies moving in the opposite direction. There's an ancient Greek word called metanoia. It means changing your direction. Metanoia has been used in different fields to describe reorienting or transforming yourself, often towards something healing or hopeful. So what does metanoia actually look like? I believe it looks a lot like salmon. Salmon. You see, the salmon in the Pacific Northwest are born with a crystal clear purpose in life. Did you know that after salmon have lived in the ocean, they swim back to their freshwater birthplace? Even when they encounter waterfalls, rapids, dams, they sometimes even bash themselves to death against the dam, trying to get home. Now, I'm not saying I have a death wish, but the salmon risking everything to get home is truly inspiring. It reminds me of a story my mother told me. When I was 4 months old, she took me from my birthplace, Hong Kong, to visit our family in Detroit. She said that every night at sundown, without fail, I'd point towards the front door and babble, home. I was like the salmon, dead set on returning home. I could have been babbling Dad because my father stayed behind while we traveled to Detroit. My mother recalled when I finally got home, I babbled to him for hours nonstop. At first, I thought the salmon swim home because they were homesick like I was. I was blown away to discover that the reason they changed their direction and swim home is all so they can spawn their next generation. These salmon are living by metanoia. Salmon invented the original Google Maps before GPS even existed. They're truly reorienting themselves for a greater hope, a greater future. What if we took metanoia further than just a simple change of direction? What if Miss Robinson's call to action to me being a great artist meant something deeper than just not walking sideways? For most of my life, I'd carried a dream of being an artist, a filmmaker. Like me, my father carried a dream since he was 7. For him, it was of being a doctor. When he was a 33-year-old practicing doctor, my grandfather asked him to help out with the family business. My father left medicine to help him because in Chinese culture, respecting your elders is everything. When I was 33, a few years out of film school, my father asked me to join the family business. So I took my values, creativity, community, and charity, combined them with the business, and launched a mission-driven hospitality company. My mission was to utilize hospitality as a force for doing good in the world. We built places where creatives and communities thrived, and we've had a positive impact on our neighbors and the industry. My experience building a mission-driven company taught me that when you let yourself be led by your values, you're aligning your actions with your truest self. And it goes so much deeper than just values. How do you transform yourself from deep within? You may remember the movie The Matrix. Even when no one else believes, Morpheus has faith that Neo is the one. How do the salmon keep their faith? They know deep down where they're swimming, even though they can't see beyond the dam. There's tremendous power putting our trust into something we can't see, but that we can believe with all our heart. Recently, I suffered an adverse reaction to some medication and I had to be hospitalized in LA. The doctors didn't know if I would recover. Halfway across the world in Hong Kong, my father prayed for me every morning before work. Now, it's important for you to know that my father does not consider himself a religious man. Why would he pray for me every morning for months? He prayed out of love. He prayed putting his trust into something he couldn't see yet still hoped for. My father was living by metanoia. He changed his direction, seeking a hopeful future. I realized my father sacrificed his dream to help his father, and he reoriented himself to save me. When I was hospitalized, crisis turned into growth. Not only was I sick, I was reeling from the shock of devastating loss. I had lost my 2 dogs, my grandfather, and several friends, all within the span of a year. I grieved. And I found myself praying for the first time in my life to save my loved ones, to heal my broken heart, to bring peace to those who had passed away. And what I saw was crystal clear. I underwent metanoia, a deep transformation towards a new destination. And because of this, I revived my original dream of filmmaking. I was finally listening to Miss Robinson's heartfelt advice from all those years ago, and my father has supported me with open arms. So how do we muster the courage to turn from walking like a crab to swimming like salmon? There are 3 actions we can take. The first is to believe. The second is to be, and the third is to build. I know, it sounds like BBB, Better Business Bureau, but that just makes it easier to remember. The first action is to believe. I invite you to take time to reflect on what you believe in. I talked about how my forced sabbatical from my hospitalization led me to realize what I really believed in and who I really wanted to be and what I really wanted to do. You can do this from anywhere, not just a hospital bed. If you can, take a few days or a few hours to yourself and do a deep exploration of what you believe in. The second action is to be. Both prayer and meditation require being fully present in the current moment. A study shows that meditation leads to permanent brain changes that improve cognitive function and stress resilience. To get started praying or meditating, find a quiet place, center yourself, connect to something deeper. You can ask questions like, what am I grateful for? What is my purpose? Where am I going? The third action is to build. As humans, we're made for community. A study shows that more social activity is affiliated with less cognitive decline. Building community requires empathy, connection, loving your neighbor. Not only do I have the support of my father and my family, I now have the support of a newfound community as I swim like salmon. If you give yourself permission to swim like salmon, it may lead you to your community, and you may be inspired to serve others, and through that, you may find belonging and purpose. Now let's look at the rewards of swimming like salmon and not giving up, even when there's a dam. If you were an English major in college, you'll probably have studied the poetry of T.S. Eliot. When he was almost 40, he found his lifelong salmon path. He reflected that he had found a safe, unshakable place for his values, which he must either maintain or perish. He wrote the poem Ash Wednesday during this important turning point. The poem starts, "Because I do not hope to turn again. I no longer strive towards such things. I rejoice that things are as they are. You can hear the joy he feels at no longer having to strive, no longer having to walk one way while looking in another direction. And in 1948, he won the Nobel Prize in Literature for his outstanding pioneer contribution to modern poetry. Not long after, in the 1950s, the musician John Coltrane was struggling with drugs when he experienced his metanoia, a spiritual awakening. He writes, "It was to lead me to a richer, fuller, more productive life. At that time, I humbly asked in gratitude for the means and privilege to make others happy through my music. And he was given that gift, and now he's one of the most iconic, beloved jazz artists of all time." Their stories show us the rewards of swimming like salmon. If they had walked like crabs, their essential contributions to our culture today would not be the same. The cost of walking like a crab is not finding your way home, not fulfilling your purpose. Are you walking like a crab? And if you are, would you commit to swimming like salmon? And if you do, remember this moment today when you chose to swim like salmon. Let's swim by metanoia, change our direction, swim towards that hopeful future. Even if you can't see it, consider believing in it. Why did my father pray for me every day when I was sick? Why did Darth Vader sacrifice himself to save his son, Luke Skywalker? Why do people pray and meditate, not only over first world problems, but even in the middle of war, starvation, genocide? The next time you're struggling, don't be afraid to lean on and surrender to something deeper. The best is yet to come. Who knows, changing your direction may bring you joy and peace beyond all human understanding. You may finally come home like the salmon do. If I had that time machine, I would grab myself by the shoulders and say, no matter what, listen to Miss Robinson. Don't walk like a crab. Swim like a salmon. And I invite you to do it with me.